Splintercast, welcome back. Episode 3, hanging out with your boy Weirdbeard. And, we've had a lot of craziness. Episode 2, if you still haven't checked it out, make sure you do right now. It's available on all streaming platforms from Spotify to... Spotify sticks out in my mind, but there's plenty. You can hang out in our Discord, our Splintercast channel in there. We'll give you all the information. Today, we're talking with a very special guest who's going to need no introduction. In fact, I don't even want to spoil it. I'm so excited here. All kinds of wonderful things happening. Remember to follow us on all social platforms at Splinterlands Official if you want to check out and get in on the action live. My name's Weirdbeard, and this is Splintercast, Episode 3. You may know him from Manchester Orchestra. Tim, what's going on,
What's up? Thank you. I'm so glad to finally get on here with you and talk about Splinterlands.
I'm very excited.
You guys didn't know it, but I'm one of the nerds. I am a Splinterlands man myself, so it only made sense to come on with you.
I think we have to start at the very top of the fact that if you were going to take any member from a band, the drummer is most likely going to be the one into nerd culture the most.
I think you're right. I think you're tapped into something there, because I've noticed as well that a lot of times the drummers are gamers.
Yes, and it's the dexterity. It's having the hand dexterity and being able to do multiple things.
I think you're right.
I'm so excited to have you here. Thanks so much, man, for hanging out with us. And, it's great to be able to reach out to you, especially because Splinterlands has had so many things happen in the past year that has been in the world of music, right? Again, we've talked a little bit off record here about, I've come from the world of TV and radio where music was my life for a very long time. And it's so often that music and gaming continue to be spoken of as separate entities, right? Music's only for certain people and gaming is only for certain people. And it's been interesting to see, especially in the Splinterlands ecosystem over the past year, breaking down that barrier, because it's listen, gamers listen to music while they play video games.
Definitely.
It's not a one-to-one type thing. Tell us a little bit, give us your nerd credentials. If you had to run down, you know what I mean? What brings you into the world of gaming? Give me the full spectrum of profile.
Yeah. Well, I come from a long line of gaming. Yeah, I started playing, I'm getting old now. I'm turning 40 soon, guys. And so I go way back to the Nintendo days. And that obviously is sort of where I started my, you start playing Zelda and that's it, gamer for life. And so that kind of, I grew into playing console games and stuff like that. But then I actually really got I've always been into sort of the RPG stuff and all of those things. And so that sort kind of brings you into, just the different sort of, there's card games and there's, there's tower defense games and all these different subgenres that you start to find out about in the gaming world. I played StarCraft, nice. A lot of that kind of stuff. And so, and then I actually did have a stint with World of Warcraft for a long time in my 20s. And it was almost too much, where I was just playing that way too much and obsessed with it. So gaming is one of those things I've learned how to find a nice balance with it as I've grown older, where you can still enjoy it and still, have the time, the downtime and have fun. And it's challenging, but I think so, that kind of was the natural evolution into when the online crypto stuff, things like that started happening. You sort of take a look at where it's headed with the gaming space. And I started finding out about the NFT platforms and all of that. And so that's kind of how I, sort of found my way to you guys. I played one other game and then I was like, I'm going to check this game out. And then it's awesome, and it's a cool game that you can play at your sort of pace. If you want to go crazy and play it a lot, you actually can do that. But it's also something you can just, log in a little bit here or there and have fun and not put too much pressure on yourself. So I'm excited and to get to hang with you guys and talk about it, because I actually do love playing the game. It's a lot of fun. But yeah. Have played, all sorts of games like it and stuff in kind of around it for over the years, and I've been playing video games for a long time. Big time tower defense nerd too. So when you guys put that out, I was like, oh, here we go. It's going to be cool. So I'm definitely really excited about that too. I think it's a really good, it's a good look for you guys for sure, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, and the thing I really enjoy, you know, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, is that Splinterlands is the I don't want to say the nexus, but it's like it's a meeting point of a lot of stuff.
A lot of crossover.
I mean? Yeah, like, hey, you're super into NFTs and you want to find something that's like a market mechanic or whatever. And then there's other people who are just like, dog, I like Hearthstone. Like, cool cards are cool to me.
Yeah, exactly. The collection part of it.
And I think that's what I have enjoyed the most about Splinterlands is like from a you know, outside perspective coming in is like it's a lot of the other Web3 games are so you have to niche down, right? Like you've got to sit down with a book and learn this specific information to like understand ecosystems and how we're purchasing and all this other stuff. And then Splinterlands is out there just like, I don't know, dog, it's a cool game. Do you want to come play with us?
Yeah, but once again, like the music tie-in though, you sort of have to find your fan base. Like, you know, there's people that are going to come and go and then are trying to like make money playing NFT games as their like 9-to-5 job. And if you can do that, you know, that's cool. But I didn't want to put that kind of pressure on gaming, you know, for myself. So I think that's another cool thing about what you all have is there's a culture there that you guys have built that I think is going to last, you know, people that are trying to come in and like, I don't know, cash out, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
You know, this is something that you should and could play for many years and enjoy it and not like get tired of it because it's continuing to, you guys keep adding cool new stuff and just making it refreshing. So
well, it's like the difference between having a smash album and then nothing else afterwards, and like a bunch of solid 8 out of 10
one-hit wonders out there right now.
Keep building up and up, and like I'm really excited to see the growth of the music and gaming kind of tie-ins that we're looking at here in Splinterlands, because it's like there's been such a shift over the past 10, let alone even 5 years of how music and gaming is consumed, right? Like it's no longer to where, oh, hey, we're going to make an album. We're going to set aside 5 years to plan it out and slowly do it and then have a whole release schedule. And then this is the tour time that we're doing right afterwards. Like it's a kind of like always evolving process from my understanding. You know, like when you're looking at the way that music and gaming is starting to cross over, do you what's the draw? Do you think that those barriers are kind of being knocked down for people, or do you think that it's going to just happen? It hasn't happened yet, but do you think that it's coming sometime soon?
You know, I think that there's music is so much more. People are used to consuming it online, and so you know there's I guess like a convergence of if you're online, you're like sort of checking your online music stuff, but if you're a gamer, it just seems like it's easy for those two things to cross in your day, you know, and so it's easier to sell the games to people now, like directly to them, less. I guess it's a more personal experience now, finding what you want online. There's more options that are kind of niche and for, you know, this is my thing, you know, just like bands. I think a lot of people find bands and it's like a band like us, we have some of those diehard fans. It's like they found us a really long time ago. And so they feel attached to us and they're like, this is, you know, I've known about this band forever. They're like, this is my band, basically, you know? And so it's kind of cool because I think you got, you know, games and are able to provide that now, or it's like it used to just be like, okay, there's games coming from Xbox and from PlayStation, and like that's basically it. And it didn't really matter how you felt about it, you know? And now it's kind of like, you know, the Discord aspect and being able it's almost crazy to me actually that people and we kind of talk about it a little bit too, where it's like, this is the first time ever, and people don't realize it, that you can just reach out to members of the band or people that work at the gaming company and be like, I think you guys suck. And like, just, you know what I mean? Like, you used to have to go through walls of people to get to like the CEO of some Xbox gaming company.
You'd have to write a pissed off letter and spend 30 minutes looking up an address and licking a stamp.
You'd have to do some research to get to that guy. And now it's just like, oh, I'm going to go directly to dude on the Discord and like tell him, you know, this one. It's just hilarious. And people do that the same thing with us, like, you know, about mixing of the records, like stuff that costs so much money and time, and they're just like totally, you know, so that it is a crazy, like the accessibility to the people and all of that has changed as well. And so on one side, it's kind of cool because it's more personalized and people get to sort of have more personal investment in like the company, the crypto, the coin, or whatever it is. You know, you're just kind of like, this is, you know, my thing. And so that's cool. But it's also like, yeah, for us, it's also like, yeah, you got people sending their like, I didn't get my t-shirt, dude. I'm like, I'm on tour right now. What are you talking about?
What do you want from
me? Leave me alone.
Well, you guys...
Not really. I love all you guys. Anyone that buys stuff. I'm just kidding.
Well, you got to buy stuff, though. That's the
please buy stuff.
So you touched on it right there. You know, you guys are touring. You're doing all kinds of stuff and around the world. One of the other things that has been really interesting to deal with has been seeing how international of a community Splinterlands has. As somebody that's toured and been around and everything like that, how did the dynamics change when you go from being like, oh, people in the tri-state area kind of have an idea of like who we are and what we're doing, to all of a sudden having this international behemoth to where it's like I'm on the streets of Saigon and somehow somebody still points me down and knows what's going on here?
Yeah, we kind of had a little bit of a moment like that in the UK because we just went over there and we didn't do too much. We played 2 big shows, a Manchester show and a London show, but we hadn't been over there in a few years. Obviously, you know, a lot has happened and then it takes a while. And so I think it was about almost 5 years that it had been since we've taken a trip over to the UK. And so the response was just like, you could tell people they had been waiting, they were stoked, and the sing-alongs and all of that side of things were just, it was like louder than we had ever heard it. And so that kind of stuff, it does a lot for you because you spend years for those moments, you know, of like, wow, we haven't been here in a long time and these people are singing their asses off right now, you know. So that's kind of cool, you know. Now the brutal travel hours and like no sleep and just your cases falling all over the airport and a million other things that just make you want to pull your hair out. People don't see that side of stuff sometimes, and they think we're, once again, like we were saying earlier, people think you guys are just having like a good time all the time and it's so cool owning a video game company. Like, there's a lot of sacrifice and a lot of work that definitely goes into it. But when it finally does pay off, or when after a culmination of time of years goes by and then you see people really care still and they're really responsive still and all of that, it's awesome. And I know we don't take it lightly that we have people now, thousands of people that will show up in the UK when we go play over there and really care. So that's but you don't get that unless you put years of time and work into the thing and really cultivate it and cultivate your fans and care about them and try to give them something good, you know. And I do feel like we kind of do a similar thing in that way, you know, of just build it for them, make it something that they really want, and they'll be there singing, you know. So,
and I think a lot of it too is being an owner of something is different, right? Not necessarily just the person who writes the checks and legally I'm the owner of this, but like you own
having stake in it.
Yeah, the legacy of it and building that out is like a whole thing, because it's for every person that goes, the sound mixing sucked on the last album. It's like that cuts deeper than anything else, because it's like, you can't go back and just like, here, let me go back and fix it, right? Like, it was the same thing when we went and did this Splinterfest event. It's the very first live event for Splinterlands, and bring out all these people, and there's all kinds of people that are very happy about it. But then there are some people that would be like, oh, well, I thought it was going to be bigger. And you're like...
They want it to be like a WWE event,
yes.
like...
And you're very much like, man, like that kind of the small stuff hurts more because you feel an ownership of it to where you're like, I want to deliver above and beyond for every single person. And that's got to be, I think, a crossover between live performances that you guys are doing and what we're also doing, in the sense of like it's like baseball, where you have to go to bat over and over and over and over, and every single one of those is on the record. The good ones get forgotten. It's only the bad ones that go back on the board. And you know, like working really hard, that ownership of like a brand, a legacy, and kind of like an overall vibe, for lack of a better word, is really a big management thing, to where it gets to the point where execution itself is like 10%. Like it's so little in actually doing it. It's all those choices and the things that lead up to it that make it so that 10% is nothing comparative to like the journey that got you to the place where you're trying to be and what you're doing right now. It's just like, and you even see it with tours, I'm sure, like, it's not like you just pick a bunch of dates one day and you're like, all right, cool, that's what we're gonna do, have a good day, everybody. Like, it's all these little things that just add up real quickly.
Absolutely.
That become a bigger thing.
And an emotional, management situation where, say for us, we're rolling with 12 deep or so with all our crew and our front of house guy and all these different people and so you're like, you go through these mountaintop experiences and the lows with everybody. And sometimes people are in different places. Sometimes people are like struggling with something at that point in their life, or have a girlfriend issue going on, or have like, there's a million things going on with people where you can't always control where, you could be having an awesome time that night and everything's going really good, but someone on your team isn't, and it's just a little bit more like you're on this ride together with a lot of different people. And so there's that side of things too, where I think as you sort of, when you have ownership of something, you feel this need for everybody to be like happy and taken care of, and everything be like, good vibes everywhere and all of that. And it's great when it's working and the team's clicking and everything's going really well. It's awesome when we come off the stage. There's nothing like it. High fives everywhere. But there's plenty of times where it's like, there's this thing broke, the monitor console broke 2 seconds before we're going on stage, and our tour manager is like, all right, listen, it's going to sound like shit, just deal with it, here we go out there now, and you're like, what? Okay. Like, all right, and you have no control over the landmine or the thing that just got lobbed into your lap, and you just got to roll with it, right? And break it down to the team. Hey guys, listen, this is gonna suck tonight, so you ready?
I'll tell you, that was a lot of Splinterfest. Like behind the scenes, you had all kinds of people who were, that were watching it like, oh my God, it was so great. Whereas like our tournaments, when we launched them, nobody could get in. I had to pull, while there's like hundreds of people downstairs, I had to pull developers into a back room with one random laptop, begging them to fix something so that people could enter these tournaments. And I'm just like, dear God, please, I will do whatever.
Threading the needle.
Yes. Please fix this for me. And it's like
there's a lot of that flying by the seat of your pants.
So much of it, and I feel like Splinterlands is great. Like it's a great game, but there's plenty of those moments, like I'm consistently approached by people who are like, oh, you guys just sold, the Rift Watchers pre-sale sold out in 99 seconds, which is great. Guess what? That caused so many fires for us. Like there's so many problems.
Nothing's working.
Yes, it's always so funny to have like one person who's doing the Leslie Nielsen up front, where he's just like, everything is fine, don't worry about it at all. And then
you do get into this pattern too. I know you probably feel it, where it's like if stuff starts going too well, you start looking over your shoulder like, what is about to absolutely bottom out on us right now, because it's coming, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's, I think, the biggest part is like that, those emotional highs and lows of like, man, when you it's awesome to have ownership and run things, and you know, the mountaintop highs are great, they really are, but you know, you also have to be willing to go through some of the, and there's still so many times where we get like completely embarrassed, or just, you know, some terrible scenario happens as a band and you're just like, okay, all right, you know, let's just roll with this. You know, you're like trying to load all your stuff in the back of an Uber that's too small and the stuff's falling out, and you just want to like lose your mind. But you have to go through that stuff if you want to have a really something that you're proud of and something that you can, you know, have a legacy with. So that's cool, man. And I so tell me a little bit about the sports side of things.
Baby, all right.
You're like, let's not do just one thing. Let's do like 5 things at once, you know?
Well, again, a lot of the stuff of conversations trying to talk to people is I don't want to say like, you get bogged down in the details, but you have to see Splinterlands becoming like an enterprise now at this point, right? Like the biggest thing that this company has is that it's a market mover and market first mover for Web 2 to Web 3 gamers. Like they are the onboarding ramp for this whole unexplored ocean that currently is inaccessible to people unless you already have a submarine to go out into the deep end of where everything is. And
well said.
It's very much like the sports, whether people want to, you know, debate back and forth on, should you do soccer as your first thing, or like what's the first entry point? That's not it. The bigger thing is that Splinterlands can no longer just be a game. It is a game platform, and looking at that expands things out from saying, okay, here's our box that we're able to operate in. We can only tweak and do so many things with Splinterlands, the card game, before it's just like rearranging chairs, right? Like, I don't know if you've ever been in a relationship where your partner will make you move a couch to one side of the room and then go, you know what? I just put it back. It needs to go back to where it was. Like, that's where things will start gravitating towards. But then you open up this sports platform and you see things like sports betting, which now runs every professional sports league out there. You see, involvement with players. You see involvement with the same way that we're breaking into music, into professional celebrity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not just a celebrity, but celebrity itself, of being the place where if, you know, sports athletes or large stars want to be able to release a thing, they need a platform to be able to do that.
Right.
I really think that the sports platform that GLG is bringing forward is one of those things that highlights that there are limitations to Splinterlands as a game, right? Like, I'm into high fantasy stuff. I get the, you know what I mean? Like the techno wizards and dragons that are doing reflect damage with their magic shields.
For sure.
But
like at the end of the day, it's a card game.
Exactly.
Like we can't, you know.
You have that many people that are willing to be open to playing D&D, and there's just as many, if not more, people out there who are just like, I don't know, I like Messi, dude. Like, I like Ronaldo. I just like the guys that play footy and kick the ball around. And so I think it's trying to expand beyond, to put it into another, you know, like cliche music phrase, is like, we had a really, really, really good couple of early albums. But there's only so many times you can make that same album before it's like, all right, we've done this. This is, you know, the same people are going to buy it, but we're not talking to anybody new. No new radio stations are picking us up here.
Yeah.
So
and any really like good, talented group of creative people is not going to be cool with like being put on the assembly line to just make the same canned soup like over and over again. Like, dude, don't tell me how to play. You know what I mean? Like I've played for 20 years in a band so that I would have the freedom to be like, this is how I do it, and it's a really good product, right? Yep. And so you guys obviously know, you know, you could go make a quest game or this or that. Like, you can go do those things, but you have to you guys have to be like emotionally invested in the process and feel good about making those choices. Otherwise it's not going to work, right? Like it's like a band putting a record together. They have to be ready to make those choices for themselves. Otherwise, it's just going to feel like someone made them do it, and they're not going to be into it, you know?
And also the day that like your fans are telling you what kind of album you need to be making,
right,
you're already losing because they have figured it out before you.
Absolutely.
So I think that's the thing, is that some people see this as out of left field, but that, again, first mover's advantage, right? Like you got to get out there and do it before everybody's screaming, "Oh, you're so dumb for not doing this. It's so easy." When you're getting armchair quarterbacked, like that's when you're losing. You
Absolutely.
know? It's not great. And I think that like I appreciate that a lot of this is being done in like what is a bear market, you know? Like because when you're playing with house money in a bear market and everything's coming up aces, everything's coming up Millhouse, whether you like it or not, it's one of those things to where like, oh yeah, sure, we can totally do that. When you're still doing like things that are unexpected in a time when people wouldn't expect you to be doing them, that's when you can really mine for some gold, I think, right?
Yeah,
like
definitely.
You have to be able to dig for that kind of stuff and not have it just be given to you on a silver platter.
Yes. You know, I think a lot of the early NFT pay to earn or whatever the play to earn kind of structured games like set way crazy expectation levels, and people just, you know, they thought they just had crazy thought processes about what a game should and could offer them, and then when any of that starts to get reined back in, it's just total fits being thrown and people, you know, losing it. And I think you guys did a really good job of you've set a nice precedent for like the length of time it's going to take for you guys to do something, just setting realistic expectation levels with the people who play the game, where it's like they can't get too far down the road. They see there's tons of cool stuff coming. And so it's just keeps you balanced and keeps you being like, okay, you know, this is the appropriate way to view, you know, playing this game and seeing it grow and all of that, as opposed to just thinking like I can, you know, I can get rich playing this game in a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just that's not what this is about. It's about making something that can sustain and can keep going. And it feels like you guys have tons of years of content worth still, you know, in the pipeline and being rolled out. So it's exciting.
Well, I also think it's like the word content is in this day and age a little wonky, but it is applicable here because there really is content, right? Like a lot of these other games in the Web3 space don't have content; they have earning potential. They have, you know what I mean? Like they have white papers and projects and stuff like that. And like I'm notorious not only on this podcast but also like anytime talking to people about this game, is I divorce myself from talking about other stuff and I only want to talk content. And the reason why is because that's the differentiator, right? Like it's what sets this game apart and would set any, whether you're an online creator, a band, a comedian, whatever it is, like your content is your calling card nowadays.
Yes, dude. Yeah.
And like being able to really work and focus on that content is your secret sauce of like, why do I care? You know, like at the end of the day, everybody's going to tout how, you know, the most profit can be made with their project. Whereas here you know, like a lot of the things that we talk about are like, you know, here's eye candy, where it's like lore stories and like music and little things like that. But that's the content that makes people come back. You know, you talked about a World of Warcraft addiction. It was not, you weren't in there because you were like, the leveling system is actually the most enticing. Like, you're not doing that on a conscious level. What you are doing, though, is like, I don't know, I'm a Death Knight. I click fast, things die, and then I get to go back on a cool mount. Like, things like that are what makes people click intrinsically, I think. Like, the content that, even if they don't identify that it's the thing that's doing it, it's what makes them feel whole in the experience, as opposed to just being sold on like what the things are. And I'm excited to see like more of Splinterlands leaning into that, because again, this company, it's been a little over a year at this point where the company has gone from 17 employees to 150 people. And like, what if this is the change in content in a year? What's it going to be in another year? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, especially with, again, GLG coming out, Tower Defense coming out, really seeing the birth of this this Warner Music Group partnership deal. Some of these other things that are going through, like, you know, I really hope that if you never lose sight of the content, you'll never lose your community. That's like my honest to God opinion is, if you just always buckle down, you know, there may be nobody else, but you'll still have at least one person who's like, I don't know, I think it's neat. Like that's the kind of person that you just want to always go after. Yeah,
you know, we sort of very similarly, it's like record making, you know, where we're always, and for us, it's like we know when we get together and work on stuff, even if it's not a song that's not going to make the record, that could be a single, or that could be, you know, turned into, put on an EP, you know, or a follow-up thing. Or we value everything that we're going to get together and create, because we know it can be helpful down the road and a part of like the band's just continuing to roll the momentum, you know? And so I think it's kind of cool, because in the same way, for us, it's like that, capturing those pieces of content, those songs, all of that. It's really, you know, when that process is happening, no matter what else is going on, you can feel really good, because you're like, we're getting the thing that sustains us. You know, when we write a new idea at sound check or whatever it is, it's always a really awesome feeling of like, oh, that could go on the next record. That could be, you know, something that helps the band go the next step up the ladder, you know, and all of that. So it's kind of interesting how similar it feels like the gaming path and the music path really are in a lot of ways, but and then also so different, you know. No setting up a drum kit must be nice.
Yeah, but then
I'm not doing that anymore. Anyway,
don't like you said you're almost 40. You are too old for that.
I luckily it hasn't been long, but I am in that point now where I'm like, all right, cool, drum tech, let's go. Set my stuff up. Thank you. Looks great.
All right, so let's do a couple of you know, off the hip, just first things that come to your mind.
Yeah, man, hit me.
What is your on tour, the one thing that you always need to take with you?
I like to have some couple shoes options. Okay. So a weird thing that has recently developed is, so it kind of weirdly developed because my wife bought me this junky like Target panini press that was like this big. It was one of the tiny ones. I bring that out on tour, and like, dude, you know what it's like at 2:00 in the morning every single night, dudes just want to eat food.
It's panini time.
It goes. It's panini time, right? And so I quickly realized this thing is not gonna cut it, and so it was actually kind of sweet. The dudes just all chipped in and bought me one of those like real deal George Foreman like big panini presses, and somehow it started being called nimming, and it was like Timmy's Nimmies. Every night I'd be pressing down our rider sandwiches and making these big panini sandwiches, and I started actually, like, every once in a while I would cook them for our crew. If they're these dudes, like your lighting guy, he's behind that thing all day long, like getting the show ready to go. So they can't go anywhere or do anything. And I would show up with a hot panini sandwich with some like chips and an apple on the side. These dudes would look at me like I just brought them a baby, you know. They're so happy like to have some food show up. And so now like nimming and having one of those George Foreman's is like a must for us on the road, because it takes like an ordinary sandwich and makes it 3,000 times better. When you just put some heat on that bread, you know.
All right, next up, if you had to pick one Splinter, you get to play with one Splinter for the rest of your life. What Splinter are you picking?
Man, so I've been for a long time. I was riding the chaos hard, but now I've just gotten a couple really cool fire cards. So I'm sort of torn, and I'm going to stay with chaos, man. Chaos
Perfect.
Legion. Yeah.
Next up, what's the one show that sticks in your mind the most? It can be for good or bad reasons, but just the one that, like, when you close your eyes at night, you could still picture it in your head.
It's probably going to be some cartoon I watched, like Batman, when I was a kid. I would just like, you remember the days you had to wait for like the show you wanted to see,
yes,
which was crazy. But the Warner Brothers Batman animated Batman series, for some reason, just hit me at a time as a kid where I would like come home and it was just, I was so hyped to see that show every single time, so that's what I'm going to go with.
Perfect. Next up, I would say, if there's anything in the future of Splinterlands that you're most excited for, what's the thing that you're most excited for?
Tower defense.
Yeah.
Easily. Can't wait.
Tower defense is going to be really fun, I think.
I'm just like really trying not to put like a bunch of real money into the game right now. Trying to earn it instead of buy it, but it's really tempting me.
Next up, I would say, if you had to go be stranded on a desert island with one of your band members, who are you taking and why?
All right, so it's going to be a toss-up it's definitely going to be a toss-up between Andy Prince, our bass player, because he's a fisherman and loves to fish. And dude, let's be honest, I'm going to need some fish out there.
Yes.
And then our guitar player, Rob, is very resourceful and like that guy. If something breaks, he can fix it. He's like a sort of problem solver. So he'd probably be good to live with. But I'm going to go with Prince because I need those fish.
And listen, everybody always wants to talk about like non-resourceful answers on this question.
Dude, I've been watching Alone. Have you watched that at all?
Yes, I have. And it's like, yo, you need to prepare. You need
to go fish. Why aren't you fishing right now? You're building a flute. Like, go fish, I don't understand it. Some people are like chasing a squirrel through the bush, but you get fixated, when you're hungry, I'm sure.
Yeah, I will never do Survivor for that exact.
No.
Naked and Afraid.
You aren't
Survivor,
gonna make it.
Not at all.
We're not gonna make it.
No, fat white guys. I have my beard for protection, and that's it. Like nothing.
I don't want to. Oh man, when I see him like skinning a rabbit, I'm just like, I really need to. I guess I need to learn how to do this, but I really don't want to roll the fur back off of this poor rabbit.
I do video games for a living. I am not cut out for the like absolute savagery that is nature. And last question here that we'll kind of end on is, if there's anything that you see as a parallel between playing in the band and playing the video game of Splinterlands, what is it? Is there something that you just really see as like a soulbound crossover that kind of ties the two worlds together?
I don't know. Maybe a quick answer that pops out into my head is that I guess for both things, if you want to be successful at them, you have to do them consistently, And so, I think with the band stuff, a lot of times I kind of touched on it a couple times already, but people just sort of want to see the glory side of things. Always. And they want to see just the product and just like, oh, show me the goods, but not a lot of people want to or care to understand how much work it really takes to be good at something and to build up to something, and that process is true with both, takes time, right, to get somewhere. And so there's definitely, some more stuff, but that's a quick, easy answer.
Listen, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Now we're coming to the end of our podcast here. I want to give you
Man, thank you for having me.
I hope you've enjoyed it. I feel like
I really
I've just
have
rambled for
yeah, it went by
forever.
really, really fast, man. Let's do another one.
Absolutely. So, like the stage and platform is yours. Give us some plugs. Not only where can people find you, where can they follow you, but then what do you have coming up here soon?
Yeah, I'd love to plug a couple things. So I mentioned shipping off to Vegas here on Friday, and we're going to go play the When We Were Young festival, which is a pretty crazy fest out there in Vegas. And we play a weekend, stay out there the week, and then because it had sold out so fast, they added days to it. So it's 2 days, one weekend, and then another day the following weekend. And so we'll be out there for 10 days. Which is definitely too much time out in Vegas. But all our wives and a lot of family are going to come out for the first weekend, and we'll be out there like half the week, and then we get turned loose. So we'll be finishing that up, and shortly after that, we do our festival every year, which is called The Stuffing in Atlanta, and we have a bunch of different bands play with us. We've been doing it for over 10 years now, and so if you're in the Atlanta area or in the South or really anywhere, and you should come to The Stuffing. It's awesome. It's at the beautiful Fox Theater downtown. It's always a really special night. And then we get back to working on, I guess, new Manchester stuff and trying to write again. I also have my own page at Timberry Drums that you can check out on the Insta, and do a lot of kind of writing and producing and making beats and stuff like that on my own. So if you're into any of that kind of stuff, check out what I'm doing and see if you like it. And that's there's not too much other than that. I have a really great time talking with Ian, hanging out and talking Splinterlands stuff, man. Can't wait for this tower defense game to roll out.
Very, very soon. Fingers crossed that we don't
man.
take you for everything that you're worth just because you're going to become addicted, I hope.
You'll be in the back room with a laptop screaming at somebody like real soon here. Please
make this work.
Make it work.
Hey, Tim Very,
Awesome.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Being a part
you.
of Splintercast, we love having you here, and we love having you be a part of the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Splintercast episode 3, that's a wrap. Remember to follow us on all platforms. Links will be in the description wherever you're listening right now, or you can check us out on Discord. Come find the Splinterlands Discord and check out the Splintercast channel. My name's Weirdbeard, and we'll see you in the lands of Pretoria.